I'm joined by three other members of Bills Mafia to discuss what Josh Allen has meant to our fandom today on Locked On Bills.
You are Locked On Bills, your daily Buffalo Bills podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Bills Mafia? It's Joe Marino from the Draft Network, and I'm your host of Locked On Bills. Happy Thursday to you, and thank you for making Locked On Bills your first listen every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Blue Nile. Make your moment sparkle with jewelry from BlueNile.com, and Locked On Sports listeners get $50 off purchases of $500 or more. This podcast exclusive includes engagement rings. Use code Locked On at checkout. Well, folks, this is an episode I've been very excited to do because it's going to be me and three other members of Bills Mafia talking about Josh Allen. As Josh Allen week continues here on the Locked On Bills podcast, we are simply going to look at Josh Allen through the lens of what he's meant to our fandom. And we have a great panel assembled today. Let me bring them all in. Here they are. Very excited. I will introduce each and every one of them. We'll start with Miss Kristen Kimmick, the president of Bills Mafia Babes and contributor at Buffalo Rumblings. Kristen is somebody that I've had a chance to meet a couple of times right now, or to this point, and I will say you've been very kind, very hospitable, and I've really enjoyed getting to know you. Thank you for coming on and being part of this panel today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me today, Joe.
We've got LeShawn Sherman, celebrity Bills fan. I've seen you on promos for the Buffalo Bills. You are one of the faces of Bills Mafia. LeShawn, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me on. I listened to you on WGR 550 Wednesday. You come on Wednesdays, right? I think.
Yeah, we had a Wednesday there for a while. We're taking a little break, but still on quite a bit.
Yep, I never miss it, brother. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you, my guy. And then Joe Miller, host of the Overreaction Buffalo post-game show on Buffalo Rumblings and the Off Tackle with John Fina show. And Joe, a recurring guest, and anybody, I hope that you're here with your AirPods, your cup of coffee, at the gym,
on the drive to work.
Welcome.
Or watching me live right now on YouTube. Yes.
Welcome, Joe Miller.
It's good to be here. Thank you so much for having me back again. And with these two very distinguished guests. So, yeah, super thrilled to be here with these guys.
Awesome. Well, I'm super thrilled to talk about Josh Allen with the three of you. And what I want to do before we get into some of the moments that have happened since Josh Allen's become the quarterback of the Buffalo Bills is I want to reflect on the way we felt when we got Josh Allen. So the first question here, and I'll start with you, Joe. What do you remember about how you felt when the Buffalo Bills traded up? We knew they were going to go get a quarterback in 2018. They traded up and they selected Josh Allen in the 2018 NFL draft.
So even back, I say back then. So it's such a building of emotions, right? From 17 years of everything that we went through. Well, and I'll go back just to EJ. We knew EJ, when we take him 16th overall, we knew that he was a little bit of a project. And then obviously we went through the quarterbacks after EJ. And I think for me, what I was feeling most was it wasn't even about whether or not I believed in my heart that Josh Allen was going to be good or not, or Josh Rosen was going to be good or not. I knew we had no shot at Sam Darnold. I knew we had no shot at Baker Mayfield. So when I was posed with the option of Josh Allen, who could be maybe, some say, one guy, Mel Kiper in particular, elite, the best quarterback ever to play the game, but it's going to take a couple years, maybe 3, 4, 5 years to get there, or Josh Rosen, who's ready to play. And we've got a team that just went to the playoffs, right? A relatively okay team. I got this guy ready to play, that guy who could be elite, but it might take a couple years. I was disappointed. For me, I wanted to win now. I didn't want to wait for even if it took 2 years. I just didn't want to wait. I was ready to win. I was done with everything that we had gone through. Right. So for me, there was just a measure of disappointment for me, and it was selfish disappointment based on not necessarily a talent evaluation, just from what I heard from guys like you telling me that Josh Rosen was ready now. Josh Allen is not and may not ever translate. So that's where I was at.
You know, what's funny is I can affirm that there are teams that didn't pick Josh Allen and selected other quarterbacks that did so because those quarterbacks were more ready right then and there, and they didn't want to wait for Josh Allen. And I think you can understand that those teams made a massive, massive mistake. So your process was very much the same as other NFL teams. So, yeah, look, everyone's happy to be wrong right now, but you were far from alone in that line of thinking. LeShawn, let's go to you. Your thoughts. What do you remember about the way you felt when Josh Allen was picked in the 2018 NFL draft?
Wow, that's a great question. I remember that draft like it was yesterday. I actually flew up to Buffalo to watch the draft with at a bar out there with some other Bills fans because I knew we had to get that pick right. It was, baby, I'm doing something. Sorry about that, guys. My daughter, she can't get enough of me. Sorry about that. So like I was saying, I flew up there to Buffalo for the draft because I knew we had to get this quarterback pick right. It was time to get this quarterback pick right. But leading up to the draft, I would listen to all the pundits say Josh Allen's terrible. He's the biggest project. Some people said if he works out, then it'll be that like analytics won't be a thing if he actually works out, just trashing him. And like I let all of that get soaked into my brain. And like when they said with the 7th pick, the Buffalo Bills select Josh, I was hoping it was Rosen because I always heard he was the most QB ready to play quarterback. And I watched him on the Rich Eisen podcast, and Rich Eisen was just glowing, and everybody had me thinking Josh Rosen was the right quarterback. So when we said Josh, I was pissed off like the rest of the night. I was sad. I even tweeted about it like, oh man, I think we made a mistake. But obviously Brandon Bean and that brain trust, that's why they get paid millions of dollars. And the day after, I said, you know what, I'm gonna just trust the process. That slogan, I'm gonna trust the process and just pray and hope that we got this quarterback pick right. But when we first initially made the pick, I was disappointed, and now he's the best quarterback out of that draft class. So shows you I don't know anything.
Well, LeShawn, I think you are in a very similar spot as a lot of Bills fans where you didn't want him, you got him, and then you had that moment of acceptance, right, where it's like, all right, this is it, ride or die, baby. Let's find out. He's our guy, and because he's our guy, right? We got to get behind him, and that's what happened, and it was a journey, and we can look back on that at this point with a lot of smiles on our face. Kristen, let's go to you on this question about the way you felt when the Bills made Josh Allen the pick. Were you the one on the panel here that was excited to hear that?
Nope. Wasn't me. First, I got to ask you, LeShawn, am I looking the right way?
You did, yeah. Well done.
What bar were you in?
Say that again?
What bar were you in?
I don't remember the name. It was my first time ever being in that bar. I'd have to check my tweet history. I'm sure I said the name, but I honestly don't remember. But I was there with a Maniac in the Train Wreck Sports crew. So
you got to look into it because I will die if I find out that we were in the same bar. That we didn't know each other at that point. Mm-hmm. So, but I was in. I went to the 716 bar, the one that's connected to. It was the 716 at that point. I think it's Southern Tier now, but it's connected to the arena. And so I was in there things, bunch of people, they've got the big 20-foot screen in there. They've got the whole 9, right? Now, when I was researching, because I'll be honest, I don't really watch a ton of college football. So like leading up to the draft, I just hyper research everybody like the month leading up to it. So doing that, I had also started to get into the mind process of really, really wanting Josh Rosen. I knew about Allen. I was skeptical of Allen. I kind of had a feeling it was going to be one of those two. And I live off of Allen Street. So I remember that morning I was walking to work and I stopped and took a picture of my street sign with the corner street sign being Allen. crossed off Allen and just set it underneath it on Snapchat, like, do the right thing, Buffalo. So like, you know, we all kind of had our own mindset. And I think what really I learned from that is, I mean, obviously now we have absolutely no idea what we're talking about, guys. We have no clue. At least I don't. And I can never pretend to. I'm not Brandon Bean. I'm not McDermott. But yeah, I mean, it was also entertaining. There was hundreds of people in 716 that day. They were at max capacity for that one. And you just heard like, it was kind of like a split second of like silence and then groans, you know? Now, luckily I went home, I went to bed, and I'm one of those people that it's kind of like, you know what? That's what we got, and we're going to love him too, you know? And I'm always going to root for him. I mean, heck, I rooted for EJ Manuel, right? So I can root for this guy. So I'm happy now. I was not happy then, and I'm so sorry, Josh Allen. I'm so sorry.
Well, as for me, and before I share my thoughts about this, quick shout out to my cousin TJ Santiago. He sent me this hat today in the mail. It was a surprise. I wasn't expecting it. And you guys got to check him out. He's got a super cool Instagram account, Fitted Flex 528. So if you like hats, he's got some really cool stuff on there. A lot of Buffalo Bison stuff, tons of cool. Not that he's selling them, but he has a pretty cool collection that he shares on Instagram, Fitted Flex 528. Shout out to my guy, TJ Santiago, for sending me this hat. So I was doing a live broadcast of the 2018 NFL draft. And I had to try to keep myself together because I wanted Josh Rosen. That was a quarterback that I wanted. I recognized Josh Allen in the skill set. That wasn't hard to figure out, that he's big, athletic, big arm, but he had a lot of warts. I mean, he wasn't a very good quarterback at Wyoming. He had a lot of high-level moments, a lot of flashes, but players with inaccuracy and decision-making problems and mechanical problems, they don't typically ever really fix those things. And so for me, it was, well, I recognize that this guy has a high ceiling, but can he actually overcome all of these issues? I was like, well, maybe, maybe not, but that'll be for somebody else to figure out. Well, that's not the hand we were dealt. And it didn't take all that long for Josh Allen to make all of us look quite silly and realize that the Bills did pick the right Josh. This episode is brought to you by Rock Auto. With the ever-increasing numbers of makes and models, it's now impossible for your local chain auto parts stores to stock all the parts you need. Why endure often pointless or seemingly intimidating questions like, is your Odyssey an LX or an EX? And wait while the person behind the counter orders the parts on their computer, choosing the only brand their warehouse happens to carry. You have computers with access to rockauto.com at home and in your pocket. Save time and save money when using Rock Auto. Why would you choose to spend 30%, 50%, even 100% more for the same parts from a chain store or a car dealership? They have everything you can need: brake parts, tail lamps, motor oil, and even new carpet. Go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck. Make sure you write Locked On in their "How did you hear about us" box so they know that we sent you. You have amazing selection, reliably low prices, and all the parts your car will ever need over at rockauto.com. All right, folks. So we got all that out of the way. We can talk about all the good stuff now. And so the next question that I have for the group, and I started with Joe last time. I ended with myself. I'll end with myself every time. So, Kristen, just be prepared. You're going to be first up on this one. And the question is very, very simple. When did you know Josh Allen was the guy? Was there a particular moment that you can point to that made you feel like, wow, we finally have our quarterback?
Yeah, for me, I think it's a big one that a lot of people had. It was the Anthony Barr leap during the Vikings game. Because in that moment, it was like we knew that we had an athletic guy. We knew that we had a guy that had a rocket for an arm. We knew that, he had the heart and soul, but we hadn't really seen how far and what he would put on the line for us as a fan, as a fan base. And to see, him to even attempt that was crazy, let alone pull through with it. So that one for me showed more about his heart and his fight on top of his athletic ability. And it was like, okay, yeah, that's our guy. That's it. That's him.
The Bills were 16.5-point underdogs in that game on the road. Week 3, Josh Allen's second start against the Minnesota Vikings. won the game 27-6. And obviously Josh Allen doing some heroic things, the jump over Anthony Barr. But how about the Superman dive into the end zone?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And the way he celebrated that, like, you felt something that day. I know we all did. And to your, that was pretty early, Kristen. I mean, he was still definitely, playing through some struggles. And so credit to you for buying in a year and a half quicker than I did. So nicely done there, Kristen. LeShawn, what do you have for us on that moment for you when you knew Josh Allen was the guy?
For me, it was actually the last game of the year in his rookie season. The Miami Dolphins came into town, and record-wise, we didn't have a good record. We didn't have that much to play for. Our season was over, but I remember watching Josh Allen ball out against the Dolphins in that game. His last game of his rookie season, he had like 5 total touchdowns, like over 300, close to 400 total yards. And I was just watching him do whatever he wanted against the Miami Dolphins. Come to find out now he owns the Dolphins. I hope they sent him something for Father's Day. But, who would have thought, like, after watching him go insane, he went nuclear on the Dolphins in that game. And after that, I was like, we may have something here. I remember I always run to Twitter. I remember tweeting about it, like, Josh Allen's my franchise quarterback. I'll follow him into the pits of hell and all types of stuff. I was emotional and just happy that I watched him go nuclear against the Dolphins. So that would be the moment. He had a monster game in the last game of the season that didn't really mean much. He went crazy on the Dolphins. That's when I said, this is my guy.
Certainly felt good having that going into the long wait for the next season. Definitely the culmination of everything that went right for him as a rookie manifested itself in that game. I think he was the offensive player of the week, and his reign of dominance over the Miami Dolphins began that day, and hopefully there is no end in sight. Joe Miller, what about you? When was that moment for you where Josh Allen was the guy?
So there were moments leading up. Right. So the preseason game when he went in late, I think it was against the Carolina Panthers, and he was just rifling bullets. It was the one to the corner end zone. And I believe I was at that game with a whole bunch of friends, and we weren't necessarily into it. And then there was the one in the middle as well where he threaded the needle. There was flashes there where you were like, oh, that's really different from everything we're used to watching. Right. You go to the Vikings game, and there's an aspect of, oh, this kid really is excited about winning football games. And then you watch through that season, and Kelvin Benjamin, as Jay Spencer King likes to say, Kelvin Benjamin, right? He, and what he was to this team, the drops. Zay Jones that year, I believe, dropped 50% of his passes. There was a measure of knowing he was better than what we were watching and what the numbers were saying at the end of the football games. And then for me, it was the first Miami Dolphins game. That game, as much as he lost it, that dude took over that football game. I mean, the legend of Kiko Alonso was squashed by another Buffalo Bill on that day when he had him basically turning tailspins in every direction. And if it wasn't for, Clay not catching the last pass of the football game, Josh Allen's undefeated against the Dolphins in his career. Charles Clay catches that ball, Josh Allen's undefeated against the Dolphins. And for me, it was that game where I was like, we have something. I'm on the train. Now, I'm not saying that I never jumped off, because the next season against the Patriots, first game at home, when he threw 3 interceptions and went out with a concussion, I was like, maybe not. But it was that Dolphins game for me that punched the card. That's where I was like, I'm in on this kid, 100% in on this kid.
I love that we have 4 different answers here. I was expecting a lot of redundancy with this one, but it's not the case at all. And it's funny how it clicked for everyone at different points. Of course, me being the one that had to wait the longest to fully buy in. I certainly recognize everything that you guys are talking about, but I was really kind of hesitant to give him my heart. I needed to know before that was the case. And for me, it was the Dallas game on Thanksgiving 2019.
Yeah.
All of the stuff that you guys have already talked about happened, right? That was good stuff. I liked all of it. I liked the start of the season, the jump that he showed in 2019, and the Bills were pretty good. I mean, they were 7-3 going into that game. But I'm sure you guys are just like me. When the Bills are on primetime, at least in the past, like now we're all excited. We love watching our team. We're proud of them. But like in the past, you're like, oh boy, Yeah, they're playing on prime. They're on prime time,
No bueno.
got to deal with everybody tweeting about them and all that. And so I'm
Yep.
sitting here like, here we are, Thanksgiving. Didn't really want to spend my holiday having to deal with the Bills on prime time and laying a clunker against Dallas of all teams. And I was nervous as hell. I'm not going to lie. And one of my main talking points that entire season in 2019 on this podcast was, okay, Josh Allen is showing growth, but it's all about continuing to meet the moment, right? If you guys listen to me in 2019, you heard me say he's got to meet the moment, got to meet the moment over and over and over again. And this, to me, was a big, big stage. On the road, short week, in Dallas, in front of the entire world. And they're playing pretty good, right? Like this is a pretty good football team. What are they going to look like with everybody watching? And we saw, I mean, Josh Allen was precise in that football game, obviously making a lot of big time throws. The 4th and 1, right, where the fumbled snap and he's trying to find the ball and he picks it up and plows through the defenses, then loses his mind. And everyone in that stadium, however many 100,000 people in Jerry World, they knew Josh Allen did something special in that moment, right? And so that for me was like, wow, this guy's a dude. This guy's a dude. He's on national TV, balling out, doing things that other players can't do. And I'm like, all right, I'm in. I'm fully in. That was that moment for me. Thanksgiving 2019, Josh Allen. That's the moment that I fully bought in.
It's funny how the goalposts have moved, because all of us literally feel the same, or have felt the same way that you did. Give me the Buffalo Bills at 1:00 on Sunday. That way, if they embarrass us and choke, nobody saw it. And they're not going to talk about us really if they win either. But we know what primetime brings. I was at the Cowboys game on Monday Night Football, the first game back in Buffalo, right? All the primetime. Every time we played the Patriots in primetime. And like Belichick, we have a losing record. They've already clinched the playoffs in the East, and he's running up the score on us, putting a 50 burger on us. And then literally 2020, the Bills are like, by that point, they're just dominant in primetime. And I put a tweet out just about the Bills in primetime, and somehow Trey Wingo got a hold of it and retweeted it and talked about how ridiculous it was. Being in primetime is not a stat, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't matter, which gave me the opportunity to go back and research all of the times he said, this guy is great in primetime, or this guy is great in primetime, and this guy. And I just started, he never blocked me, surprisingly enough, but that was a fun moment for me. Like just the whole, where he was downplaying the idea that primetime's not important. It's like, well, it was important before Josh Allen got here.
Go off, King. Love it. Joe Miller spiking the damn ball here on the podcast. You love to see it. LeShawn, I'm going to start with you on this question, and it's a simple one. What is your favorite Josh Allen moment or memory to this point?
Wow. I mean, I have two of them, but I'll just stick with one. It'll have to be against the Patriots in the playoffs. Being at that game, it feels like -5 degrees on the field. I'm in the front row. I'm always at the games, but
beers are freezing.
This is the first time I'm ever sitting in the front row. I'm right at the end zone, and just to watch how incredible he played in that game, like. It was the Patriots who's always, who whipped on us for 20 years. And finally just to be able to annihilate them in that game. And Josh Allen had more touchdown passes than he had incompletions. Like his stat line was amazing. Like we could have put 60, 70 points on New England if we really wanted to. Just the way he went off on that game, he was just incredible. Running the ball, throwing the ball. Like New England had no answers for him. And I just love the fact that a Bill Belichick defense came into our building in the playoffs and we blew their doors off. Just watching Josh Allen go off in that game. That's my favorite Josh Allen moment. Just how the spot it was, it being a playoff game, how freezing it was, and leading up to the week, you had some Patriots people saying the Bills are the team we want to go against, and I'm like, be careful what you wish for, and we just destroyed them. That's my favorite Josh Allen memory.
7 touchdown drives, 7 possessions. What I loved about that game, LeShawn, and I think Joe Miller can definitely back me up on this because we've been team open air. We embrace the elements of Western New York. All of that conversation late in the season was, are the Bills going to be able to play playoff football. Can Josh Allen play in the cold? And there was Patriots beat reporters that are sitting here trying to say that it was an advantage for New England that it was going to be so cold. I'm like, whoa. You think that the weather is going to impact Josh Allen more than it does Mac Jones? Are you kidding me?
Right.
It was very much a gratifying win for so many reasons, but also because everything that people were saying about playing outside in Buffalo would be a problem for Josh Allen. Well, folks, it wasn't. It wasn't a problem at all.
Nope.
Super true.
Joe Miller, what do you got for us? Your favorite Josh Allen moment or memory?
There's Josh Allen. The story of Josh Allen is about steps that have been taken. And the fun thing about Josh Allen is I don't think anybody that watches him realistically now and knows football would say that he's reached his ceiling. I don't think we've seen it yet. So there's an anticipation of another step. But for me, it was one game, but it was a stretch of games as well. It was 2020. The Bills came out hot, obviously, the way that they did. And then he kind of tweaked his shoulder a little bit. They went Kansas City game, went through the lull. And then they were coming against, the 49ers. They're going to play the 49ers. It was in Arizona, but they're going to play the 49ers in prime time. So there's the bugaboo number one, prime time. It's like, oh, great, here we go, right? You talked about meeting moments. Can Josh Allen meet the moment? Their defense, the 49ers defense was good. Really good, and there was a slew of good defenses we were about to face. The Denver Broncos, Vic Fangio's defense, and then we had Belichick. I think it was at least once coming up as well, all to get through, to get to the road to the playoffs. And that 49ers game for me, when he came out and completely befuddled Robert Saleh, I have a tweet of Robert Saleh's face from my television that people still steal that picture and use it, where it's just Robert Saleh, sorry about that, in the third or fourth quarter, and you just see it on his face, I don't know what's going on right now. This isn't how this was supposed to go. And you go back to the pregame interviews and the things that he thinks Josh Allen is, and you're just like, did you even watch tape on that guy to call him a not as good Cam Newton? That's literally what you thought he was, and he went out there and he just beat that throw over Fred Warner. It's just, it's just. There's so many moments, but that one for me is just there's the moment I realized he was the guy, and then there's the moment I realized he was elite. And for me, that game was the moment I was like, this kid's elite. He's in another world, just a different world than everybody else's. So yeah, it's the Niners, and then everything that's happened after that for me.
That was certainly a great game and a good example of how Josh Allen's ability, his physical skill set, puts maximum stress on a defense. And so while you think you're in the right look, it doesn't matter because Josh Allen plays above X's and O's. He can put too much stress on you and you can't take it all away. And Josh Allen has access to all of the field.
Right.
Kristen, your favorite Josh Allen moment or memory?
It's a tough one. Honestly, because with me, I continually find every next Josh Allen moment overtakes it as my new favorite, so where I'm actually with LeShawn on this one, that my ultimate favorite is the Patriots game, because I think after 2 decades of being handed L's from that fan base, it was we got to hand one back, but on a silver platter. It was just the most beautiful. It was sweet. I loved that. My second, to not talk on the same thing, because LeShawn's already kind of hit on that one. My other one is actually kind of a weird one, I think, because it's a pain point for most others. I love the 13 seconds Kansas City game. I don't love the 13 seconds part, but I love that entire game because he just came out like a wizard. He showed the world who he was. He was throwing passes that you haven't seen. He's doing everything that he possibly could to get us there. And besides that one endings, that one split second, he played so incredible football that day. And that's a one Josh Allen game I will never, ever, ever forget. And I think that's what makes it my favorite. It wasn't the outcome we wanted, but it was still this amazement through the entire game that was just, you don't get to watch fun football like that often. You really don't. So
Joe, I'm sorry. Can I just jump in for just 2 minutes? I think Joe and Kristen both gave fantastic answers, because to Joe answer the 49ers game, my best friend in life is a diehard 49ers fan. And we actually worked together, and we were driving home watching that game on his iPad in the car. And up to that moment, he wasn't totally sold on Josh Allen. But when Josh Allen went in there and lit his defense up, he turned to me and was like, bro, y'all got a dog over there, man. So it was very gratifying. And I'm like, yeah, I've been telling you about him. Don't fire me up. That's my guy. So that was a great answer. And also Kristen's answer, that was going to be, because I said I had two of them. That was the second one. Actually, me and Kristen were at that game together.
Hello. Hello.
Joe, you was there too. Sorry about that. All three of us was there. My clique. We was all at that game, and it's just that game. That was probably the best football game I've ever attended in my life. And just being able to see my quarterback go toe-to-toe, blow for blow with Patrick Mahomes, who everybody has in the Hall of Fame, and he's going to be the greatest quarterback ever. And I'm like, is everybody watching my quarterback going blow for blow with supposedly the greatest quarterback ever? So, like, watching that game, I was like, okay, so don't tell me Josh Allen's not top 5 after that performance. Like, we got a dog in Buffalo too. So
I'm in the stands in that Kansas City game, and the dude next to me, there's people around me that are just morons and jerks. And I get it. That's how Bills fans are with away teams as well, and their fans. But the dude next to me was very much just a good football fan that loved his Chiefs. The Bills take the lead, whatever it was it just over 2 minutes or just under 2 minutes? Like, they take the lead, and he's like, oh, it's over. And I was like, bro, you got freaking Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback. Sure enough, Patrick Mahomes goes right down the field. And I'm like, it's over. And he looks at me and he's like, bro, have you been watching Josh Allen for this football game? And I'm like, you're right. And then sure enough, Josh Allen takes the lead, and the dude left with 13 seconds.
Oh, no.
There were fans leaving. There were fans leaving.
There was a lot of people leaving. There was a lot.
We all thought it was over. I still don't know how do we lose that, Joe? How do we lose that game with 13 seconds?
Everybody go back and listen to my post game show. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it right now.
I feel you.
Oh man. I have a favorite Josh Allen moment, and it's probably a bit of a unique one. But I really think about the way that I felt in that moment, and all of your answers are really, really good. But this was for me a very significant one. Week 2, 2020, Bills against the Dolphins in Miami. Very important to note, this is in Miami, where the Miami Dolphins play. Hard Rock Stadium. Bills are up 24-20, and they have the ball. 3:17 left in the fourth quarter. 3rd and 9 from the Miami 46, right? This is a pivotal moment in the game. Like, you could kick a long field goal. You could try to pin them deep, give them the ball back with a chance to win the game late. Josh Allen, with ice water in his veins, launches a deep shot to John Brown for a touchdown. The Bills take a 2-score lead late in the game, and Joe Miller knows exactly where I'm going. Josh Allen is in the middle of Hard Rock Stadium playing the air guitar after delivering a dagger touchdown. That was that moment where I'm like, yo, this guy is a freaking savage, right? Like, that is a ridiculous throw. And then to do the air guitar, I'm like, okay, my guy's petty. And I can, you know what I mean? And then he's waving goodbye to Christian Wilkins that one game. You know, Jordan Scarlett, that one touchdown run. He's like, bro, like, he's like 2 yards in the end zone, and he just kind of flattens him. He's like, bro, get out of my way.
What
like,
about spinning the ball in the Charger, the Charger defender's faces?
Let's go. You know what I mean? Damn it! Like, this is, we've wanted this for so long. So I said it before, like, we just kind of wanted a good quarterback, right? I remember saying things like, can we just get like Kirk Cousins? Like, I'd be so happy with Kirk Cousins.
There's a podcast out there with me and Spence on the Hump Day Hotline, early first 5-6 episodes, where I'm like, just with this defense, just give me 90% guy Kirk Cousins. We'll be good. And Spence is like, that guy sucks. And I'm like, bro, just give me 90%. Whatever.
I mean, there was years that I would have done anything for like Mitch Trubisky or Case Keenum to be our main quarterback, and now they're our backups.
I mean, very well said. Very well said.
It's wild. It's so wild.
You know our friends at Built Bar, they're always coming out with some new amazing flavors. Well, this time Built has truly outdone themselves with their new Mud Pie flavor. And for the first time ever, Built is introducing the Mud Pie flavor in both Mud Pie Bar and Mud Pie Puff. Not sure what Mud Pie tastes like? Well, if you're a chocolate fan, you'd better sit down for this. This new Mud Pie Bar is rich whipped cream and chocolate mousse smothered in 100% real chocolate and topped with cookies and cream crumble. You've got to try Mud Pie as soon as possible, and you need to hurry because they're only available for a limited amount of time. Visit Built.com to taste the deliciousness for yourself. And folks, don't forget, everything at Built is healthy for you. Built products are low-calorie, high-protein, and low in sugar. Got a deal for you. Go to Built.com, use our promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off your next order. And use promo code LOCKED15. Again, LOCKED15, 15% off at Built.com. Got a couple more questions to get to with the panel. I have completely forgotten who went first last time and all that. So was it Joe? Oh,
no, it's my turn.
Your turn to go first. Wow, this is the big question. This is kind of like what we've all been working towards. What, Joe Miller, has Josh Allen meant to you as a fan of the Buffalo Bills?
Relevance, literally relevance. To be a teenager in high school in Florida, growing up in, a fan base. So I was in Tampa for a while, and back then creamsicle was not good. Even the fans in Tampa were Dolphin fans. So, and then I moved to Orlando from there, and then just north of Tampa after that. Graduated high school in Florida. I graduated in 1991. Yes, I'm old. And then just what kind of ensued after that, the Buffalo Bills being the most winningest team in the 90s. No team won more football games than the Buffalo Bills in the 90s. Jim Kelly, 5-6 Hall of Famers, the year they sent 11 guys to the Pro Bowl. And then literally it was almost like we were the red, and I can say this because I'm a redhead, the redheaded stepchild of the NFL. I mean, we were worse than dirt in the NFL. So the relevancy and the reality that it's brought back, to me, it's very reminiscent of Brett Favre. The NFL is better when the Packers are good, right? I don't know how old you guys all are and if you remember when the Packers were awful, but the Packers for a long time were just trash. And then Brett Favre showed up. It's a very similar story. And the Packers have been great since then. Now, obviously, they got lucky with Aaron Rodgers after Brett Favre, but that's a very similar story to what we're going through. The NFL is better, and the ratings prove it when the Buffalo Bills are good. People, for some reason, love the underdog, love the smaller guy. They don't want to root for Dallas. They don't want to root for the Giants. Want to see the small market team beat up on the dude that all the pundits are talking about. And the relevance that he has brought to this franchise, to this town, to us, because that's the one place we as Bills fans are different than a lot of other places, and that's the college piece that a lot of, when you go to college someplace, and all of us, I'm sure, have been to college, the reason it's a college atmosphere is because I go to school here. This is my team. That's why it's different for us. For most NFL fan bases, that's just the team we root for because of the team in our town. For Bills fans, they're a part of us, right? We're a part of them. And it's just a different. So for me, I'd wrap it all up. And that might not be the answer you're looking for, but for me, I'd wrap it all up in one word: relevance.
No, I'm looking for the answer that answers it for you, right? I'm not looking for anything. I just want everyone to be honest about what Josh Allen has meant to you as a Buffalo Bills fan. And so we'll go to Kristen next for your answer on this topic that it feels like this entire conversation is centered around. What has Josh Allen meant to you as a fan of the Buffalo Bills?
It's really hard to identify just kind of like one word to describe the feeling that it is evoked, to kind of have Josh here and be where we are. I would say that, he's everything at this point, especially we're all pretty much the same generation, right? We have all pretty much lived as fans during this losing era. Personally, for me, I was 14 when we went into the playoff drought. So you got to think I'm a freshman in high school, and I was 33 when we came out of it.
Right.
So the majority of my entire, that where I'm becoming a more of a diehard fan, and where I'm really starting to learn, the ins and outs of the game. I'm rooting for a team that's just breaking my heart every single week, in and out. And everybody, there's so many of us out there that feel that way. So I kind of look at it like I've never been married, right? But I look at those years from like 14 to 30, it was like we were just we were going on a lot of really bad dates, man. A lot of really good dates we were dating. And it was like we dated how many, over a dozen different quarterbacks. We got some good stories. We got some funny stories. We got some really bad, sad stories. We got the whole thing. And then Josh shows up and it's kind of like, you're like, that's the one. That's going to be the guy, it just changes your life. Like, I know that sounds so dramatic, but
if I could add when he got here, at first it was, that's not the one. That's not the guy I want. Like, so that's not the girl. That's not the guy.
You're going into it expecting more disappointment. Oh, it's just going to be, it's like, it's going to be another bad dating scenario, but we'll give it that good old hee-ho,
Yep.
And then it turns out to be the perfect fit. I mean, he's perfect. As far as his personality goes, his play style goes, everything that we need as a fan base, he is. And it changed everything.
I connect with what you mean there, Kristen. The Bills are a big part of us, right, as people, right? We love our families. Our identity is in bigger things than the Buffalo Bills for all of us, I'm sure. But, man, this is a big part of our life, and we care so much about it. And it's just different being from Buffalo and being a fan of this team. It's the community. It's the way that Bills Mafia interacts, and it just matters, right? It's not L.A. or Miami or whatever big market. This is part of the community. The Buffalo Bills are knitted into the fabric of Western New York, and because of that, we all have a great sense of pride in this team. So I 100% connect with what you're saying there. LeShawn, what about you? What has Josh Allen meant to you as a fan of the Buffalo Bills?
Oh, man, everything. Success, relevance, stability. Like, I still, like, we're talking about him right now. I still can't believe he's my quarterback. Like, me, I don't know, man. Like, I'm crazy. I'm a fanatic. Like, I sleep better at night knowing he's my quarterback. Like, my days are better. My life is better knowing he's my quarterback, to be honest with you, man. Like, we just, like, that whole playoff drought. I know after we ended the drought, I did a rant and I was crying on the airwaves because it just meant so much to me to actually make the playoffs. But now, like, we're not just, oh, the Bills ended the drought. Now it's the Bills are the favorite to win the Super Bowl. Like, I don't know that life. Like, when I first started watching football, I was born in '84 to give my age. So when I first started watching football, that's when, I was 5-6 years old, and the Bills started to, they were really good going to Super Bowls. You know what I mean? But it's different now that, like, I'm a grown man and I know the game and I'm able to go to the games and be, more involved than I was as a child, and just to have that great of a quarterback, like my signal caller, like, I feel like we can win every game. Also, like, my friends know, like, I have one of the best quarterbacks on the planet, and most of them wish they had my quarterback. Like, my friends are 49ers fans, Steelers fans, Cowboy fans. They're used to having, Hall of Fame quarterbacks and winning Super Bowls. But now, like, they all wish they were the Buffalo Bills. They wish they had Josh Allen. They wish their roster was as loaded as ours. It's just, I don't know. It's like I finally have the best quarterback around. I finally have the best team around, and I can just brag about it. I can go on Twitter and post stuff about Josh Allen, and people usually don't challenge me because they know how good he is. They know they wish they had him as a quarterback. I'm sorry, man. I'm getting, like, worked up about this. Like, I can't believe I have a 26-year-old monster at quarterback, and he's locked up long term, and he's not going anywhere. And he's a great kid. The community loves him. Like, he's the kind of kid you would let marry your daughter. Like, great personality, great kid overall, humble. The man makes more money than God, and he's still humble. He's funny. He's I don't know, man. He's just incredible. And to me, it just means everything. Like, I have Josh Allen at quarterback, and all my friends don't. And I feel Josh Allen is going to be the league MVP and the Super Bowl MVP this season, and that's going to put him right there with Mahomes. And Brady's getting ready to retire. Hopefully, Aaron Rodgers won't be here much longer, and it's going to be Allen, Mahomes, and the young boys. And I don't know. I'm going on and on, but it means everything to me having this monster, the winter soldier, the creature, as Von Miller called him. He's our signal caller in a league where it's a quarterback-driven league, and we have one of the best in the world. I can't tell you when's the last time we had one of the best quarterbacks in the world? It's been a really long time, right, Joe?
Yeah. If I can add to that, the piece that we're missing is you said that he's locked up long-term, and he is. But not only is he locked up long-term, this Buffalo Bills team isn't going anywhere in our lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And a big part of that reason is because of Josh Allen.
Mm-hmm.
Because if Craig Nall is the quarterback of this football team right now, or Nathan Peterman, or some other jag like that, the state isn't as concerned about keeping that football team in Buffalo if they're losing all the time. So he's a big piece of that too. It's I'm all goosebumped. So
am I. LeShawn, your energy. I'm gonna have to obviously watch this again because I just smiled like a fool through that whole thing. Energy, I just can't stop smiling. I'm like, yeah, you're right.
I'm ready to go. Let's get the season going, baby. It's gonna be the most fun season ever. We're gonna win the Super Bowl. That's not a part of the question, but we're gonna win the Super Bowl this year, fellas. Ladies and fellas, let's go.
Say it again. We gonna win the Super Bowl.
The Buffalo Bills are gonna win the Super Bowl, our first ever. I can't wait to go to Arizona. Like I'm sorry, guys. Like I can drive in my car and think about the Bills winning the Super Bowl and just start baby crying. Like I just want to win so bad. We need it. The fans need it. The community needs it. I just can't wait. I can't wait to come to Buffalo for that parade. I'm probably gonna take off work for like 2 weeks. I don't even care about work. Like I'm going from Charlotte to Arizona to Buffalo, and when I get back is when I get back. I just can't wait, man. Let's go.
I want to be with LeShawn when all this stuff is going down. I'll tell you that. I'll be where he's at. I'll just get on the plane next to you, my guy. We both live in Charlotte, so I'll just follow you around.
Right out of CLT. Let's do it, Joe.
Airport built for the Queen, right? But we'll have a king in there that day, and LeShawn. For me, Josh Allen, what he's meant to me as a Bills fan, kind of similar to what I think we've all kind of gotten to here, and it's just a restored sense of pride in being a fan of the team. And I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina. I moved here in 1996, and it wasn't always fun wearing the colors. It wasn't always fun being in high school, and Panthers were a pretty decent team, and I'm a Bills fan, and they're never that good. And so kind of going through that. And then I also remember going back and visiting in Buffalo and being with people. And, I was with a friend, and he had a son, and the son was, I guess, 10 or 11 years old. And I was like, hey man, you like football? What's your favorite team? He goes, the Giants. The Giants? Like, your dad's a Bills. Like, what do you like the Giants? Well, yeah, they beat the Patriots twice in the Super Bowl, right? That was his favorite team. What do you care about the Bills? I was like, you don't like the Bills? He's like, the Bills stink. You know what I mean? And there's this, and I feel burdened for this generation of Bills fans that grew up and like they didn't have anything good, right? Like, if you imagine being a Bills fan born in like 2000, there's like a lost generation of Bills fans out there. Like, we got a little taste of the 90s. I know Joe was enjoying that in a way that we weren't, but that was a joke. But anyways,
I'm okay with it. I'm good with
it. But you know what I mean? Like, we had that. Like, we at least had 96. We at least had the 99 team, right?
Right.
Some of those kids, man, they didn't have anything. They went a long time without seeing anything good from the Bills. And so just that restored sense of pride, and I'm guessing there's not a whole lot of Giants fans right now in Western New York, right? I think everyone's kind of caught the fever. So it's just that restored sense of pride for me. Let's close on this one. What's one thing about Josh Allen that you wish was more commonly known among non-Bills fans? We know this guy pretty intimately as our quarterback. We're dialed in on anything and everything that he's doing. If he's playing golf, we're watching it, right? If he's anywhere, we're watching it, we're reading it. What's the one thing that you wish non-Bills fans knew about Josh Allen? And LeShawn, I guess I'll start with you on this one.
Okay. Yeah, this is a great question. One thing I wish other fans knew was like just Josh Allen's journey and like where he came from. You know, like the kid didn't get any offers, you know, coming out of high school. He sent, you know, over 100 letters and, you know, game film to every college out there, and nobody gave him a chance. And I believe he even had to go to a Division II school before he went to Miami, I believe. Is that right, Joe?
JUCO.
Junior college.
Okay.
And then
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. He had to go to junior college before Wyoming. Thanks for correcting me, Joe. And just, you know, like how hard he had to work to get to where he's at now, and even coming out in the draft, like a whole fan base not wanting him to be the quarterback, me included, you know, like I didn't know any better. And just, you know, like how hard he's worked to go from there to being one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. It's just, I want people to know, like, he wasn't the golden boy like Sam Darnold and, you know, like some of these top quarterbacks and Herbert, and he wasn't, you know, destined for success coming out of college. Everybody thought, you know, I even heard people say he'd be a parody of a quarterback. That's really harsh criticism. Parody of a quarterback. So to go from there to where he is now, like just the journey and coming from humble beginnings, and just, you know, like he's somebody that like I can root for, even if he wasn't my quarterback. Just knowing his story, he's somebody I would root for. And I want everybody to know, like, this wasn't something that was given to him. Like, you know, even improving his game every offseason, you know, working with Jordan Palmer and working with the Bills and their coaching staff, and recognizing he has flaws and wanting to be better and better every season. I just want people to, you know how it was not easy for this man, and now he's here, and he's going to be the face of the league after he wins the Super Bowl this year.
Love that answer, LeShawn. And, you know, we think about some of the superstars in the world of sports, not just the NFL. And it feels like for a lot of them, there's a section of fans of the sport that just don't like them. And they can point to things that they don't appreciate about them as people, or their antics, or the way they conduct themselves. If you don't like Josh Allen, that means that you're just a fan of a team in the AFC East, or you don't like what he did to your favorite team. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is a dude. This is a really likable guy that's worked hard for everything that he's gotten, and he's a super down-to-earth guy that has obviously transformed the organization, but just the way he's connected with everything. You know what I mean? Like, he's such a likable superstar, of course, unless you're a fan of the Dolphins or the Patriots or the Jets.
Right.
Joe, what you got here on something you wish the rest of the NFL world knew about Josh Allen?
It's hard because it's hard to pick one thing, and LeShawn did a very good job of kind of, you know, just putting it in a package and putting a bow on it. And I feel bad that Kristen has to go after me, but I'm going to take a different spin, because you can talk about, you know, the $300 million quarterback that goes to get ice cream on a Thursday night, and you know, in Orchard Park, and buys ice cream for everybody in the place, right? I mean, it's just different, which we've all experienced, probably Bills players or NFL players that aren't like that. That don't want to talk to you, that don't want, you know, they understand that they're under a microscope, but at the same time, they don't want that attention. But I would probably, the angle that I'm going to take quickly is the NFL world being the other players in the NFL. I wish the other NFL players understood and realized that the NFL and its communities, the more you put into it, the more that you're going to get out of it. And NFL communities would embrace superstars and megastars if they weren't just divas and all about themselves and all about the money. And we've talked already on this show just about his humility and making the money that he makes, and how it didn't change him. There's just something about his character, his personality, who he is as a man, and clearly it's the way that he was raised. I just wish that other NFL players with gigantic names understood that if they embraced their communities and their fan bases the way that he has, that they would love him. They would love them just as much, because a lot of these guys want to be loved, right? Even though they're full of themselves and they're full of ego and they want to get paid, they still want to be loved, and they don't understand why they're not. Why don't you love me? You love that guy. Well, that guy's different than you, a lot different. You know what I mean? So for me, that's probably where it's at.
Love it. Kristen, what you got for us on something you wish was more commonly known about Josh Allen?
You know, Joe nailed it. They, LeShawn and Joe just nailed the fact that everything about that. So I think mine's actually going to end up kind of being like a hybrid of you two. And the fact that I think that I want people not in Buffalo, not a Buffalo Bills fan, to realize is why Josh Allen seems to fit so perfectly, not just within, you know, the Bills organization, but Buffalo, the city as it is. And it's almost in a weird way like they were made for each other. Like if you take a step back and you really kind of look at the logistics of the actual city of Buffalo and what we're known for and things like that, you've got Josh Allen, who grew up on a farm, right? You've got Buffalo, we're a blue collar city. That's relatable. He had to send out 1,000 letters to even get a college to look at him. So he worked his way there. Everybody in Buffalo can relate to that. Like we don't, you know, it's not a city of massive wealth, right? We all have to work really hard to get the things that we've earned. And so that makes him relatable. Then he shows up into town and it's like, he's just got this heart of gold and, you know, he's goofy and he's funny. But one of the things that I think was a big moment that really endeared him was when he had that touchdown, he instantly pointed up to his grandmother. And it was like, this is a family guy, you know, and it's like and everybody rallied behind him and did the charity and did everything like that. Because what do? We tell you we love you by like doing things that are endearing to you. Like we knew that would be a big, you know, make a big difference, not only to the people of Buffalo, but also to Josh. And Josh turns around, he becomes, you know, more charitable, and we're seeing him do, it's just every single thing about him and the city just aligns so well. And I think when you're not a Buffalonian, you miss a lot of that, and you don't really realize how deep the roots are that he's starting to grow into this community. And I think that's something that's really hard to wrap your mind around and understand that this is, yeah, we love the guy. We love that he's the product he's putting on the field, but he's become so much more than that. He's almost like the symbol of, you know, what Buffalo is. If Buffalo is a person, it's Josh Allen, you know, and I love it.
That's a great quote. If Buffalo was a person, it's Josh Allen.
That's good.
Yeah, that was funny.
I
was money right there.
Yeah, I connected with that in a big way, Chris, and I love that. My answer to this one is just the quirks. I wish people knew that he was a pistachio farmer, that he grew up as a cantaloupe farmer. Like, I think that's so cool. I think that says so much about you. You know what I mean? Just like your core values, and, you know, his parents raised him on this philosophy of you bloom where you're planted, and they're in Firebaugh, California. And, you know, they could have done other things to help Josh. They could have moved to a bigger city and allowed him to have more exposure and, gone to the elite quarterback camps and all that type of stuff. But no, Josh played all the sports and was, you know, helping lay irrigation pipe on the cantaloupe farm, and, you know, stumbled his way into being the best player in the NFL. You know what I mean? Like, I love that about him. And, you know, he's got Allen family orchards and pistachios are going in, and, you know, all that stuff is super cool to me. The relationships that he has with his teammates, the handshakes, all that type of stuff, the pregame playlist. I mean, the guy's vibing out to like Elvis and some oldies before games. Like, all that stuff is so cool to me. His overall goofy personality. I just wish that everybody knew more about that, because they know the player, right? They see him kick ass on the field. Everybody sees that. Right. But it's some of those quirks that I think just kind of put the cherry on top when it comes to Josh Allen that I wish were more commonly known. All right, folks. Anything else? I think we've achieved our objectives here. We went pretty long here. I had a feeling we'd push for an hour. Great show. This was everything I would hoped it would have been. So I appreciate Joe and LeShawn and Kristen for everything that you've done